You're listening to the Stay Sore podcast, where we talk about physical, financial, and emotional strength. Why stay sore? Because nothing good comes easy. Here's your host, Bo Skitsko.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Stay Sore podcast. I'm your host, Bo Skitsko, and today in this episode, it is my pleasure to talk to a professional CPA, a person who deals with money, finances, taxes, numbers on a daily basis. So she's a professional. We're going to try to get some information out of Michelle Grimes. Do I say that right? Grimes. Michelle Grimes. Thank you so much for having me in your office.
Oh, sure.
So let's talk about CPA. What is a CPA? What do you do with that?
Well, so you have bookkeepers and accountants, and probably every business has a bookkeeper and accountant, but a CPA is someone who's actually certified. So they've taken an exam. It's really hard. It's got 4 parts, and once you pass that exam, then you're certified. But to keep your certification, you have to continually do education, get CPE credits to keep yourself up on the changing tax law. Or if you're an auditor, maybe keeping up on the changes in regulations. So CPAs could do lots of different things, not just always tax, which is my specialty, but you could be an auditor, you could be, different things. But it gives the public some kind of certification that we have a broad knowledge and some specialties and, some certification that we kind of know what we're talking about.
Okay, what does that stand for, CPA?
Certified Public Accountant.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. How does your day-to-day work look like as a CPA?
Well, so my specialty is tax. And so in my office here, it's kind of seasonal. So, everybody knows April 15th is the big tax deadline. So, for income taxes for individuals or corporations or partnerships, I'm really heavy doing that up till April 15th. But throughout the year, on a biweekly basis, I have payroll tax returns that I do. I'll do financial planning, especially near year end. People are trying to decide, if they want to make a retirement plan contribution or, anything that they're doing with their retirement, what their savings for, looking at their tax deductions. So, doing planning and, looking at what they're saving up for.
Okay. I kind of have some interesting questions here. But before we start, a little bit of background. How long have you been doing this?
Since 1990 is when I got my CPA, so 30 years is a long time.
That's a lot of experience. Yeah. Okay, let's get some information out of you, something that could help our listeners. So just curious, what is the most common mistake you see people do with their finances?
I think the biggest thing is to just not be aware of what's going on. Everything's gone digital, so now even young people, when they hire on to a job, they go online, they apply, they put in their tax deductions, and as long as they're getting their paycheck in their account, they don't go back and look at it. So, are you having deductions taken out for city taxes? How much are you paying in for retirement or for medical? The same thing with your bank account. There's so many people now that I find that don't even reconcile their checkbook, and honestly, I don't right now either. So, as much as I'm maybe a little more anal about some of that stuff, being an accountant, at least look through your online bank statement. Most people don't get the statements anymore. So you might see Amazon hitting your account a bunch of times when it really shouldn't be, or, Best Buy hitting you for a Geek Squad renewal from a year ago. So just kind of staying on top of what's going on, even if you're just taking a look at it once in a while, is the thing that most people aren't doing.
Okay, so it's pretty much just keep track of what's going on, be aware of where the money is going.
Yeah.
Okay, I understand. Okay, what are the, give me like 2 or 3 things that an average American could do today, this week, or this year to kind of improve their financial situation? Something simple that we can do right now.
First thing is just budget. You could do just 1 month. Take 1 month and, take your bank account and see, how much did you spend on Starbucks and how much, just create a column on a piece of paper and say, okay, this was gas, this was Starbucks, this is, groceries, and look at that over 1 month period and, what you made versus what you spent. And sometimes you'll be surprised at where you could cut back a little, or, maybe where you can put some money aside and, you don't really realize it because you're just, taking your debit card all the time and running it. So just, and then you can expand upon that. You could go to 3 months because, different times of the year you spend different things. Christmas time you're spending a lot more. Summer, maybe you're doing more traveling or vacationing. So you can expand upon that, over, 12 months if you want, but just start with 1 month. It's simple, just to kind of give you an idea of, where you're at. So that kind of budgeting. The second thing is just, looking at your income. A lot of people kind of get stagnant in their job, and there's a lot of changes out there. Minimum wage is going up. There's a lot more opportunities now I know we're in the middle of a pandemic, but there's a lot of job opportunities out there. So, you may be able to move up in the income scale a little, get something with better benefits, more vacation, or you might just like where you're at. And so next time review, ask for a raise. I mean, there's things you can do out there to improve your income that way, just looking at the job that you have, or even just little side things. I mean, you got a lot of stuff laying around the house, start to sell it off. Or, if you move your money over to a different bank, you get a free $100 just to have it there for 6 months. So there's a lot of promos out there.
Everything adds up, right?
Right. Little things like that.
So when you say budgeting and keeping track, do you mean pen and paper? Is there any softwares you could recommend? Is there anything, or just Excel spreadsheet? What do you say?
Excel's perfect, but if you have to pay for Microsoft to do that, there's a lot of free. I think My Office is out there, and that's free. It's just like Excel. So there's definitely software out there if you're great with the computer. And that way you can adjust it and revise it and look back at it if you want. Rather than just writing things down on paper. So
just from my own personal perspective and experience, for my business, I use QuickBooks, an online software. There's a desktop version. I use QuickBooks. It's not a promotion or anything, but I find it super, super easy, and it's efficient. It gets the job done really quick. It's not too expensive. And when you track business expenses, it just helps save so much time.
That's perfect for businesses. Yeah. And in most businesses, you kind of look at those expenses because you have to. You have to do your tax return at the end of the year and everything else. So, but just for an average person, there's all kinds of stuff out there that you could use.
Okay, since we started talking about business, let's deviate slightly into a different topic. Maybe you have some input in there. A lot of my listeners, from what I understand, are entrepreneurs or small business owners. Let's say I want to start cutting people's hair. Do I go self-employed versus LLC? What is your recommendation? What's better? What's benefits?
Well, they're both kind of the same thing. Being an LLC is really more of a state election that you make, and you actually incorporate your business. And what it does do is it provides you with some security. So if you're cutting hair and you accidentally cut someone, you don't want them to sue you or come after your car, your house, or your family's finances. So the LLC does provide you with protection and limits what they can come after if there is an injury or an accident. And with Ohio, it's fairly easy to do, and there's just other than the filing fee, there's no other additional costs. Now, if you were in California and wanted to be an LLC, you have to pay an $800 fee every year just to keep your LLC. So it's different in the state you're in, but Ohio's fairly simple to do that with.
I remember because I had to do it here in Ohio too. I had to register, and it was super pain-free experience.
Right.
So you register an LLC, and then you have to get an EIN number, right?
Well, the only time you really need the tax ID number is if you're going to have employees. Some banks may require you to get it, but once you do incorporate in the state, you have a lot of selections you can make. You can become a partnership if you bring on one other person. If you're going to be by yourself, you could be a single member LLC, which you just use your own social security number.
So that works pretty much as a self-employed. Okay.
Right.
I understand. Let's say somebody started all that, or just for personal reasons, somebody's looking for a tax preparer or an accountant, somebody to get financial advice from. What are your recommendations? What should you look for in a professional when you seek professional help in your area of expertise?
Well, for tax purposes, I mean, definitely someone who's a CPA, because they can help you. I mean, there's so many other ways that they can help you that you don't think about, because just the changing tax law, in the last, 2 years, the changes that, that I stay up on top of, and that we need to stay up on top of, just so you can take all the deductions that you need.
It's never ending, right?
No, it's constantly changing. And but the first thing I would say is almost talk to your friends and family. And if they have a good experience with someone, they're going to pass that on to you. And if they have a bad experience, they're going to tell you that too. So I would start there. And then you can look at your community. There's local offices in every community. There's groups on Facebook. There's different ways that you can get other people's recommendations. But then, give them a call, feel out the person. I mean, the biggest thing is, I think, if they spend some time with you to actually go through, do a consultation, and to find out what you do, what your goals are, where you're looking to go. I mean, taxes aren't just, looking at something a year later and putting the numbers on the paper, because it's money. It's how much do you have to pay, and what ways can you improve that, or the things you can change in the next year to make a difference. So there's a lot of planning involved that a good accountant would help you with, versus someone who's not up to date on things.
Okay, thank you. So let's make it slightly more entertaining. There's always people talking about things like legal loopholes in the taxes, or things you can do, like funky stuff you can do that is still legal. Do those things exist? Do you use it in your practice? Are there things that the average person doesn't know, but where you can, like legal loopholes, where you can actually use that knowledge to your advantage and play the game?
Oh, definitely. I mean, the tax code is volumes and volumes of material. And like we talked about earlier, it changes all the time. So like even right now, the year's over and you've spent money, but now you want to maybe think about how you want to impact the next year. So if you buy, let's say, a computer, for instance, do you deduct that whole computer last year, or do you spread it out over 5 years? So there's depreciation guidelines, there's home office guidelines, there's the way you even deduct the vehicle for business purposes. Are you going to use the actual method, which is the car, the gas, the insurance, or are you going to take a standard mileage deduction, like 58 cents for every mile that you drove it? So there's a lot of decisions that you can make, and that's all in the tax code, but most people don't know about that and how that changes throughout the year.
Okay, that sounds like that's like deep knowledge and analysis, and actually planning and strategy, right? To if you move this number over here, then something else changes on the other side. So you really need a professional to understand these things and use those loopholes in your advantage, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, some people use Tax Act and Tax Cut, and there's some free softwares out there. And, those are more question-based. They'll ask you a question, do you have a car? And then you answer yes, and then they might ask you some other questions. But it doesn't really help you look at how it affects you at the end of the day and how it affects you in the next year based on those decisions that you made.
I understand. Okay, let's go even more entertaining. Now, without using any names, would you be able to give me like some sketchy and funky experiences, maybe something a client asked you to do for him or something? Any interesting stories you have?
Well, most people know that I'm fairly aggressive with everything I do, but I had an elderly client once. He wanted to deduct the donation of his wife's fur coat, and he says it's $8,000, and I was like, really? I don't have a fur coat. I don't know how much they cost. And and sure enough, I got an appraisal, and so he did, and it was it's the way it works. I mean, it's out there, it's deductible. But I've also had clients, with businesses especially, there's a lot more leeway in what you can and can't do, because the IRS can't say you're only allowed to drive a Chevy, you can't drive a Porsche. So, if I have a client who, wants to get a business vehicle and he wants it to be a Porsche and he wants to deduct it, the IRS can't say no. I mean, so, kind of knowing, I guess, how to go through it and what's allowable and what's not, same with business meals and, but the IRS does come through, though, as they do make these changes. Like last year, they really cut back on entertainment. So you can't go golfing and write it off as a business deduction now. But in the past, you could. Country club dues. There's a lot of things that, went away in this last tax change. But,
but I can drive for Ferrari, right?
Yeah.
And write it off.
Yep.
Okay, interesting. Okay. So how about towards the end, give us some words of financial wisdom, some advice for everyone when it comes to finances. You have anything good?
The biggest thing is just, everybody's working, and what are you working for? Are you saving up? Are you working for retirement? Are you working for vacation? Just kind of make some goals and decide where you're going with that. I mean, everybody, we go through phases in our life, and when we're young, it's just, we're carefree. We're not really caring as long as the bank account's positive. And then as we get older, maybe we want to buy a house or buy a car or get married. So you want to start saving for those different things and just kind of thinking through, how am I going to get there? Do I need to pay down debt? Do I need to, build up, do some investing? What do I need to get there? And so, just recognize you're all in different phases, and, however you decide to go, once you decide something, make a goal and figure out how you're going to get there.
So pretty much understand where you are right now and what your plan is for the future, kind of. Be aware of what's going on. Okay, it's the same thing in every industry. In my industry, it's the same. If you want to change your body, health or fitness-wise, you have to understand where you are right now and what it takes to get to your goal. So it's the same throughout every industry, I guess.
Right, and don't look back at the way it's been. I mean, you can't change that. All you can do is change what's in front of you. So
be aware of where you are and build up a plan from there, and hopefully use a professional to help you with that, right? So thank you so much. I hope this helped a little bit to our listeners. Thank you so much. It was a short and information-packed interview. If you guys have any more questions for Michelle, leave some comments or reach out to us. You can email me personally at boskitsko@gmail.com. If you have deeper questions, we can dive in with Michelle into those and answer those. Where can people find you?
Well, I'm in North Royalton. I have clients all throughout the United States. You can email me at legacytaxcpa@yahoo.com. We've got websites down right now, but it's going to be coming up soon with more information and updates.
Once the website is up, I'll link it to this podcast. Thank you so much, Michelle, for your time.
All right, thanks. Have a great day.